Hey, Dr. Contrast Live here. I hope everybody's well. I just sent out the notice. Hope you can join us here. And if you can, great. Look forward to having you come on board with us today. And I just want to begin the stream today with a little bit of a review here. We did some things on Wednesday's stream dealing with Ferrari Evolution Phase 1. We spent some time doing some little thumbnail sketches here. And what I thought I'd do to start the stream today is take you back a little bit on the Wednesday and show you how we've kind of added some little bit more detail to the actual pieces themselves. This is the first sketch we did on Wednesday, and add a little more highlight and some more concentration and some of the detail work, and tuned in some of the finesse parts, a little more sketches into it, get some little more detail in it phased in all three pieces. So again, it's really neat to watch what the highlight does in terms of the contrast, again, with this tone paper. And I think the lesson we had on Wednesday was really to me very paramount, because when you work with tone paper, again, the real lesson plan is to keep it real sketchy and keep it real lucid. Which we did do, very light pencil work and so forth. But then the real magic of it is once you get that sketch down, the actual surface, like this red material, the red paper itself, becomes middle ground. In other words, that's your starting point. And then everything on top of that, when we start to break it down a little further, it's really interesting how when you have the middle ground set, then you go north out of that paper to get the highlight. For example, all these areas are coming up out of the paper and getting a lot more highlight into the areas that we need to address. And then you go the other direction beneath the paper, and then you go south of the paper, which brings into shadow. For example, some of the high contrast areas, like shadows, some of the contrast areas. So it's a very, very unique approach to putting together problem solving. It's a lot of fun because it forces you to really think about light source and about surface and about weights and the like, and color. So there's the first one we did. Then of course the second one we did was a little bit more of a GT study. That one kind of broke into play with just a nice little piece of work here. This guy was the The GT, again, a very loose sketch. We slowly but surely tightened it down with the same principle. Came back into it, add a little bit more highlight, for example, some of the wheel graphics, and put some more contrast and some more cut lines and a little bit, again, more sketch detail into the actual process itself. So that's where we were with that guy. And again, a little bit extra time. Now, you were kind enough to hang on, for example, on that Wednesday stream, going through a very long process, and then we'd spent some time doing a lot of rendering work. But then I go back in and look at this thing in terms of beginning to finish it out with some highlight work and slowing down the wheel graphics. And again, getting a lot of high contrast. Notice darkest darks against lightest lights. Everywhere you look in this sketch, there's a rhythm beginning to establish itself. And that's, again, one of the things we talked about on the stream on Wednesday, getting the rhythm and the pattern down of how light source really functions and how it works, and begin to put into practice with this tone paper stuff, which is great. So that was the second one we did, wrapped it up in a little bit more detail. Then the third one we did, I didn't get a chance to start this one, but I just thought I'd take a minute here today. I started that on Wednesday afternoon after the stream was through. This is a little bit of a different format for Ferrari. This is more like a GT touring machine, like a four-place Berlinetta. So we just thought this work is still in progress. I just wanted to show you where we were as far as getting it all captivated and what it does, for example. And so we're going to finish this up here in the next couple of days or so. But again, it's a very loose little sketch, a little gesture sketch up on top here, and taking it into elevation and showing the stretch of the glass. And again, the same purpose, high contrast, darks against lights, and a lot more drawing definition. I'm going to go back into this thing and finish out the detail and work with the wheel graphics and some of the other things we're dealing with here. So that's that guy. And then last but not least, we showed you this last week, and it's not a Ferrari, but it's another Porsche piece. I just mentioned last on the stream on Wednesday when we wrapped it up, we had this guy coming together, and I showed that again as another example of taking those very lucid sketches, for example, like this guy, which is a much more of a sketch pattern, so to speak. Let me kind of lay this in if I can get these in place here. This guy up on top is much more of a sketch pattern, very lucid sketches, and getting a theme or an ideation cycle down. And then once you get that established, for example, let's put this in the right context here. Once that's established, I consider this family of sketches much more gesturally, a lot more sketch, a lot of emotion, looking for an evolution of a shape or looking for an ideation cycle, something that clicks and kind of build a case on. Whereas once you find that, and we'll go into this a little bit more detail here throughout the course of this stream, once you find that, now it's incumbent to really slow it all down and do a really nice finished presentation rendering. These are the kind of things I will do, for example, for clients and so forth, who are interested in car club work and the like. Slow it all down and let them see what the sketches look like, then go back in and finish up a really nice, very tight drawing. So that's where we are there with this stuff. But again, what I thought I'd do today, in addition to that, is to continue on with this Ferrari Evolution Phase 2 and begin to look at some things here that I would like to have you look at from the point of view of the variety of things we can do with sketch rendering. And this stack of sketches was done for a client base. And I just wanted to show you again the variation on themes that we can kind of get into for future reference. And by the way, if you have any interest in, for example, doing commission work, if you have a machine you'd like to have me do or something you're interested in having illustrated, please drop me a note at my website address, and that would be at my email address at jim@drcontrast.com, and we'll take care of those things for you, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see you in the near future here. But this is a real quick pastel and the marker study, much like we did on Wednesday, of Phil Hill's 250 Testarossa. So again, same process, a lot of pastel, a lot of graphics inside the actual sketch itself, and getting a lot of detail work in the lamp graphics and so forth, and just keeping it really nice and ethereal. A lot of paper coming through. Again, this is done on red Canson. This is another sketch, for example, looking at some theme work for the Enzo. This was done some time ago. Just real quick pencil sketches. Hey, Chip, how you doing? Nice to see you, gang. So thank you for joining me here. I don't know if you, I'll go back in a minute here and kind of catch up on some things. And let me run through that real quickly. Let me go back. Let me back this up a little bit here, guys. So we're going to get a little bit of an overview of what we went through here. So let me get these sketches organized. We went there, and we went there, and we went here, and I'll be right with you. Let's see. There we are, right there. So I want to make a point here today, just going to slow things down and show you how, when you go from a very gesturally sketch such as this, let's go back to this guy. This plate really represents just a few sketches. Yep, you got it. I'm going back to Wednesday's stream, gentlemen, because I thought it'd be nice to go back and look at this. We finished some things up, but I went back in and added a little more highlight and some more drawing detail on these things to kind of make them crank a little bit further for us. And again, it's amazing. Again, the whole lesson plan on Wednesday was to get used to the fact on a toned surface such as this, you're going to go north and you get the highlight out of it, pardon me, south, north to go highlight, and then south into shadow, and let the middle ground kind of stand where it is. So this is a real quick pass through of where we were to kind of put more detail into it, and then actually got some more highlight and a little more drawing definition, and just slowed it down a little bit to kind of finish it all off. Then the second one we did was more of a GT Berlinetta, and that guy looked like that. We did a little rough sketch first, and we took it right down the pike, began to detail it in, and to get some more highlight again, into a little more finished quality to the sketch, and not so lucid or so escapability, so to speak, in terms of the actual format of the sketch. Again, same principle, a lot of high contrast, really keeping it, really, notice a lot of paper being utilized there, a lot of closing things in. Nemo made a comment on Wednesday that was really interesting about the fact that, yeah, you let the eyeball close it, let the mind kind of foreclose some of the surfaces. Yes, and that's how you draw an audience in. That's extremely a big part of the magic in this whole process. What I did not get a chance to show you on Wednesday was this guy. This is more of a Berlinetta four-place. That's almost like a sacrilege for Ferrari, I'm sure. But we just thought I'd take a look at maybe doing something like this as a little bit of outcrop from some of the things we've been working on here. A little thumbnail sketch up on top about maybe a four-place sedan, and again, just in simple marker, and then going into a little elevation study, but with the stretched glass upper and getting into a lot more tone and so forth. And this would be more, I'm gonna finish this guy up at just about maybe 3/4 of the way home. Right, so yeah, it's an interesting form. They've done some things in the past, Shadow, but the four-place they did a Berlinetta four-place series, like a 6 series back in the early 80s, and that was really well received by the European marketplace. So I thought I'd go back and go from the very lucid, typical Ferrari gutty form like so into a very sedate looking four-place sedan that has a little bit of Ferrari character to it with some of the hard edges of that time frame or that era. Yeah, Dare to Dream, you got it. That's correct. So then from that, we went to this, and it's not a Ferrari, but this is, I think, was one we showed you on the final wrap-up on Wednesday. This Porsche 908 GT Le Mans. The interesting thing is all I did was went back in and made sure that all the surfaces are correct and up to speed. And I just added a little thing called the logo. So this would be a good example of when you come out of a sketch format into a final rendering for a client or for someone who does commission pieces, which I'd love to do. Porsche just doing it for me. Yeah, it's a great. This is a tremendous car. Look at the proportion: high hip, low upper, a lot of scallop in the wheel pants itself, and a very typical Porsche-esque lighting system. Very innovative all the way through. So this was a lot of fun to work with. So, but that would give me a good. This is a good example of where we are with a system, for example. Going into a finished rendering. So, and the others are strictly from my point of view, personally speaking, it's a sketch. Love the lights. Yeah, me too, Chip. It's typical Porsche. They're always innovating with lighting systems. I think they worked with a group in Europe called they had a contract with their Formula One stuff for their Group 7 material. At Zitzing, I think it is, the lighting system. They do a lot of innovative stuff, so really cool. So that's the Porsche. Then I thought I'd come back in and spend a little bit of time and take you down memory lane here and show you where all this stuff is going eventually, and not only the automotive piece, but all the stuff we do. This is a kind of like a gallery, so to speak. This is an old Phil Hill 250 Testarossa, again, done on Canson paper, same system we work with on Wednesday. Yeah, it's a great classic, Shadow. You're absolutely right. I mean, Phil Hill drove this thing to a lot of championship series in Europe. 250 Testarossa, a lot of voluptuous reflection study in the actual surfaces themselves. That gets the job done with there, and then all of a sudden, the same process again. Add a little bit of color back in through here, the logo itself. And then again, highlighting the fact that it's just a simple, again, tone paper. Middle ground, highlight, shadow. Middle ground is here. Highlight up and shadow down. So we're getting that thing done. So yeah, I miss the styling too. You're absolutely right. Then let's go back in through. I'm going to go through a little bit of inventory here of what's coming down the line for us when we get a store set up. Just going down the line here with some commission pieces. This was some really quick, real quick pencil sketches for the Enzo study back in the late 70s, early 80s. A lot of conceptual work was being done at that time. And again, just getting a lot of gesture work down. These are real rapid, I call this like a flurry page, a flurry in the sense you're just laying down sketches and ideas and combining them maybe some instrumentation graphics, some front end, rear recorders, elevations, and the like. Just getting proportions set. So that was one approach here. Here we are with this guy. So this is it here. Then we switch gears and go into this is an early pencil sketch for the Ferrari FF. It's one of the nice little hatchback pieces that Ferrari has done, and they haven't discontinued the form. It's extremely popular. So we're actually looking at this. This is an actual pencil sketch for the FF, a lot of width, a lot of loose sketches. So notice how I'm going right through the sketch itself. They made a big deal of this on Wednesday, just drawing through and very almost melodic and very musical in terms of laying down line and getting surfaces to come together. So that's what this guy is doing. Then we switch gears and go into, this was done for some early studies. This is a Ferrari FF, not an FF, pardon me, S812 series, where it was a 12-cylinder system. Hey, Linear, how are you? Pardon me? Mostly looking, well, we're going to meet a bit, but thank you very much. Good to have you on board, Linear. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. This was one of the situations back in the early, late 80s, early 90s, doing some conceptual work for Ferrari's experimental division. And this is an 812 study with the barge boards and the old Testarossa pontoon look, chimneys up on the rear deck and so forth. And again, another example, hopefully, of what we're really trying to look at in terms of taking this stuff right down the line. And as we go further in the streams, I'd like to take it into some of this, like we did on Wednesday, it was more sketchy. These are more really finished pieces, so I'd like to take it into that aspect of it. And once again, I just thought I'd take a moment, slow things down for today and Friday, and let you see what we're capable of getting at and what I'd love to be able to service you with in terms of future reference. So I got a question here. If I could do that higher than 10, I would. Well, thanks very much, Linear. Appreciate that very much. Always good to have you guys on board. So again, the purpose of today's stream is to kind of slow things down and put this whole thing of conceptualization into some sort of context or a process for you. Begins with a sketch, goes with an idea. It becomes very lucid. Then you begin to look at things or clues and you begin to stream that thing in. And then before you know it, you get a theme going. And then all of a sudden you go into a finished rendering such as this. And by the way, I made the announcement early. And I hope I can make it again here for all of you listening today. If there's something I can do for you, if you have a friend that wants a commission piece or a piece of graphics done, I would love to be able to do that for you. Again, trying to get this thing promoted here. The store is going to be coming pretty soon. I just want to take a moment here to kind of step back a little bit and show you what the capabilities are, from lucid sketch to finished illustration, watercolor, you name it, we can get it done for you. So this is fun to look at the history here. This brings back a lot of memories. So pardon me for rambling on here. Let's see, Shadowkin. It's amazing this all starts with a few circles and some line. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just coming down the line with all this stuff, looking at just getting, and again, that's a good point, Shadow. I think I'm glad you brought that up. It all begins with circles and lines, but like we did on Monday's lesson, the proportions are what sets it all in pace. That's what sets the whole thing in motion. So really cool stuff, how it all begins to put together. If you don't understand, and I'll say this again, be careful how I state this. If we're not given to a lot of good, sound, fundamental doctrine or principles of truth, we'll always be floundering in terms of why doesn't it look right. If we can go back and look at the basic structure of space and how it really begins to analyze correctness and puts it in a proper perspective, like 1 point perspective we did on Monday, all of a sudden the mystery is gone. You understand the mystery, and all of a sudden things become revealed. So that's what this stuff begins to do. So let's go down the line here. This is the 812S. Then we go into a little conceptual study for some of the early concept sketch here for the 488. This is a little bit of a different overview in this guy, so that's another one of these guys we're looking at here. This is basically a pencil sketch with a little bit more maybe pencil work and top of all that stuff, a little bit of marker in place, but all of this is really Prismacolor pencil. And I really I'm one of those advocates of drawing, for example. To me, drawing and sketch rendering, for example, just basic drawing to me is everything. I love it. I love doing it. Just good old-fashioned pencil sketches. The media is great, but I think you can get a lot of horsepower out of what you do with the actual pencil work itself. So this is a little rapid study with a little bit of a different texture in the background. I'd like to see what we're after. And this is, again, early study for 888 with a little side intake, so forth. A little bit of surface work on the side, being a little different. And then we go from that into the Portofino. This was done, a very, very interesting gesture. Move that over so we can kind of see where we are. There you go. There we go. This Doc is the only person I know who can get horsepower out of a pencil. Well, don't I wish. I'm trying to get better at Shadow, believe me. So these are much more, I'm not going to say they're formal renderings, but they're more complete renderings in terms of when a client asks for certain things to be done. Yeah, you go through the sketch phase, you deliver the goods to them, you communicate back and forth. And then all of a sudden you go right back. Yeah, pencils and markers, that's what it is, Chip. You're absolutely correct. And paper, metric tons of paper. Yeah, boy, you got that right. I made a comment in the conference call a few moments ago with some good friends about the fact that in my career, I have probably destroyed more trees than you can shake a stick at. It's unbelievable. Well, were all of these submitted to Ferrari? Yes, at one time they were. When I was with GM design staff and working in Europe, over at Opel, we did a lot of work back and forth with some of the boys in the Skunk Works. And these are all products of certain things, and some of them are commission pieces too, Shadow, so don't misunderstand. But nonetheless, this is for the Portofino, the little silver with a lot of blue sky reflecting back into it. Again, the whole purpose today, folks, forgive me for being redundant, we did a lot of flurry and sketch rendering work on Wednesday to kind of get the process down. I thought it might be mindful today to kind of slow it all down and show you where that process begins to lead and how it begins to culminate in getting some really good finished rendering work done. And this is the kind of work that I do for any client, whether it's automotive, architectural space, architectural interior space, for example, linear, if you're still with me. Those are the kind of things I'm going to start to deliver for your gaming system once you get that thing settled in. So really interesting to see it all go from very lucid into a very, very, very tight technical piece that you can sell to anybody. So that's the Portofino. And then we move into this one. There's another one that is strictly, this is a pencil study, again, all pencil. Even some of this real high indigo. I mean, I think I went through about 15 or 20 indigo pencils to get this guy rolling here. But this is a 488 from the rear three-quarter, how the graphics kind of worked out and so forth, and some of the elements of the actual design itself. Again, really dramatic view, but it's interesting. The combination, again, really interesting how it all comes together with the pencil, Prismacolor pencil, a bit of marker work, and a bit of pastel, and then adding the logo in the corner flag here to bring it all together. So this is the 488 study here. There it is there. And then we're going to the next line here. This now is the F12 Berlinetta. This is another study. Again, very finished piece. F12, very, very timely, a very simple and beautiful surface work on this thing, by the way. And then just incredibly a piece of graphics and hardware. So F12 Berlinetta, again, a white. Let me say this too: on a white surface, it might sound like it's pretty intimidating, but it really isn't. If you get a good pattern down, for example, we talked a lot about that on Wednesday. Getting a pattern set. Notice there's a pattern of a lot of sky tone or body color up on top. And it goes into sky reflection into that body, because that surface from here to here, that surface begins to step out. So you get a lot of highlight on top of that, so it kind of lets the paper go through. Then you just keep toning it in. And of course, to me, it's not complete until you do a really neat job on wheel graphics. There's some of the wheel graphics, that says it all. I mean, that just kind of settles the vehicle, period. It's just fun to work with. So that's the F12 Berlinetta. Now we go back here. And the next one in is the California. This is, again, same process. Notice, once again, a lot of graphics are patterned. A lot of pattern through here, up in the reflections up on the hood. A little bit of sky tone here and pastel. Then you bring back and just bring back right in a lot of pattern through the body side. And again, all of this is all pure paper. This is all reflected ground going back into the actual shape itself. So I'm trying to be a little technical here to show you how sketches come together and how you work with it all. So it's not a matter of just laying down color. It's a matter of really being thoughtful about where things go and how do you make those decisions. And really go into the dynamics or how space functions to make it work. And then again, a little bit of art in the background here to kind of give it a little bit of pastel feel. So here we are here with this guy, and that's the California. Then we go into the 488 GTB. This is another, again, the same process again, folks. Look at the difference here. A lot of pattern through the body side. And again, letting this all go in here, the paper, and using pastel to kind of give it that airbrush quality, or the reflective quality. So that's what we're doing with that guy. Really interesting stuff here. All just really simple, but yet hopefully makes a real big impact on this stuff. So here we go with this guy. And the last one, I think there's one more to look at here, just some of the finished work that we've got here being done. Yeah, this is the culmination here. This is the beast of them all. This is the LaFerrari. The Stadiale has come out, but I still think the LaFerrari is so much more of a sculptural piece of work here. This is done, again, same process. There's a lot of marker work in here, a lot of pastel fill. Most of this is all paper through, all of this down below, graphics and so forth, laying some of the very hard graphic pattern of reflection into the fender well itself. It's just really interesting how it comes down to really understanding how patterns work and how the system operates. And once you begin to really see how that thing comes together, for example, how to utilize marker where you need it to kind of tone it back. Now to use pastel to kind of get the reflective quality or that airbrush quality, so make it much more believable. It's almost photographic. That's why this stuff is fun to work with. So from start to finish, that's where we are. So I thought I'd just take a moment here, gang, and go through a little bit of a lineup on things to come with this whole concept of putting together the process of illustrating, in this case, Ferraris. And it doesn't matter to me whether it's Ferrari or interior space or a seating system or product design. The same process always holds together. And let me close this commentary with this. We said this several times during the stream, and we also said it on Monday during the lesson side of life, and that is, it's simply this: the products that we see will change, but the products that we develop will always be consistent. I mean, the consistency of getting the product down and the process will change all the time. Changing, for example, it might all be all pencil, it might not be all pastel. I suppose a better way of saying that might be this, that the process is always going to be consistent. You'll always utilize the same tools. And the products might change. They might be reflective, non-reflective, matte, etc. All that changes quite a bit, but it really begins to take effect when you understand what the nomenclature is, not up against operate. So let's put those aside, and I prepared a couple little sketches here today. I'm going to go back in and just show you very quickly again. I did a couple little roughs here. I just want to take a look at, I started a little composition here. We're going to do a little piece series here. And I just want to show you, again, I'm concentrating on sketch here today. So let's kind of work this thing through. Let's get the wheel set. Roll that in, get those guys planted, get it started, come back in the ground line. Let's get the fender line over the top here. Just got to roll this in and get the glass to kind of go through it. And a little bit of body shape. Now notice right there, those few lines begin to tell me I'm doing real light. I'm just going to start real light to dark. Always go keep it light until it's right. Now we're going to bring this form across, just kind of take it through. Pardon my hands here. Take this through, come back in, far side fender. Let's dive that thing in. Again, far side glass, into the upper, roll back into the quarter. And again, let's take this guy right around the bend. Let's get this crease line to work. And I put a little sharp break right in there. Bring this out of place, bring that through, and then take that into shadow. There it is, and then roll that out. That tells me that whole rear section is very bulbous. It just kind of flares out, and there she is. So let's kind of start this guy. Let's kind of get this down into here, roll that through. Let's kind of get that bit to kick. A little bit of a splitter here up front. Take that right around the bend, into the underneath. And again, let's take this across and into some lamp graphics. There's lamps, there's lens, and again, draw across, and there's lens. So very quickly, look how that thing just very lightly is coming together. Is this helping, gang? Let me just sharpen a stick here. Let me move this out of the way just a bit, and we'll keep these sticks nice and fresh. And I'm just going to concentrate on a sketch here today, and maybe for Monday show you what the finished product is. I just don't want to get into a lot of surface work unnecessarily. Maybe I'll lay a shadow down and get it ready to prep. But let me get this guy. Let me get this sharpened here. Here we are. There it is. Now let's go back in and get the wheels a little bit tighter. Let's kind of put the shadow in place here, down on the ground plane. Let's take that through, and let's take that through. Let's get this glass. Let's kind of drop that air box in place. Kind of roll that into this around that form. There it is, and drop the glass. A little bit of a spoiler on the back of this guy. Again, a little bit of highlight up on top of that shoulder. Very simple, light sketch here again. So let's kind of, it's very simple, very elegant, just straightforward, and it just rolls off the upper end of that rear quarter and around the wheel blisters themselves. Let's get the wheels in place here. A little fuller, very sketchy. A bit of a recess in through here and a little recess in there. Let's dump that thing in, a little bit of highlight on top of that. Rearview mirror. And into the spoke, into the spoke. Let's kind of change gears here and get a little bit of wheel graphic in place. For my silencer, guys, I'm just kind of thinking my way through the process here. A little more definition in the wheels. Don't need to relive your yeah, you're right. Good call, Chip. Let's get this guy back in place here. And let's get this just a little bit more indication of where the wheels might go. Taper that off. Taper that off. Real quick. Again, right back to what we did on Wednesday, for example. Not finishing an illustration, just getting a theme down. Letting the theme work for us here. And put a little bit of this back in here. And just kind of ground it just a bit. Nice and loose. Lots of rhythm going through the sketch itself. Now let's come back in through here, give ourselves a little bit more of a shadow break in this thing. That's shadow, this is ground here. Just kind of take that on through. Now, just for what it's worth, let's kind of just knock this thing out here very quickly here. Just put a little bit of high contrast graphics in place and we'll go from there. How's that, guys? Let's get this beauty in here. Let's get a little bit of around this hip. That will represent a little bit of horizon line. Let's come back and get a tone in here. And just get the glass to kind of roll a little bit for us. Yeah, let's do this first. All right, as I move around here a bit, guys. There it is. Look at the graphics in. Is that fun or what? There she is. You're gonna need that gear again. Hey, Carolina, how are you? Good to see you, Chief. Thanks for joining on board here. Drop a gear and disappear. There you go. Nice. It's good to have you on board here, Chief. And let me tighten this down just a bit more. I'm not going to take this to the full extent here today. I just want to make sure we get a good pattern started here, and we got to work from there. So let me get this shadow down here. Let's get this ground shadow in. Pardon me. There you go. And turn it upside down just for a moment. Turn that side up. There you go. Shadow down. Basic graphics in place. Oh, there we are. Hey, Chip, thanks very much. So far, so good. Let's just do a little bit of tone work on this thing. Let's kind of come back in and say, let's keep it nice and subtle. Say I want to come back in here and get this body side to read. Let's do this. It's going to put a little bit of a stroke line in through here. Bring it around the wheels. And bring it down to ground. Run it through. Now, change the animation here. Just get a horizon line to work. A little more. There it is. Just, I want to keep this really ethereal. I put a lot of hot spot in this thing. Just keeping it almost like a rag doll. Just laying it in. Horizon line, reflecting back in, taking it into the wheel blister itself. I'm gonna stop right there, guys. Well, things come together, making sense. So far, so good. Let's do this. Horizon line. And switch back to this guy. What do you think, guys? Coming together? There she is. Roll along here. Hope, hope, hope. Let's do a little of this. Let's get a little of this kind of going here. Oh, sorry. There we go, guys. What do you think? Coming together? All right, let's do this. Let's get a little bit of tone underneath this guy. I'm gonna stop there for a moment. What do you think, gang? Coming along all right? Yeah, sold. Awesome. Yep, sold. Very good. Oh, my production manager, and we'll get this. Yeah, it's very cool. Thank you. All right, let's just do a little touch work in through here. A little sketchy. So far, so good. Here we come, gang. And there it is. And while we're at it here, a little bit of tone in this guy. Take it down a notch. What do you think, folks? Coming together? Very cool. I fit the theme. Okay. Let me grab something here real quick here, folks, and kind of bring out of arsenal here. We did a little trick on the other day that I thought was kind of neat. Let's kind of bring this. By the way, I want to show you this. This set of alpha color pastels is about 3,000 years old. This is a set of pastels I had when I was a member of General Motors design staff at Corvette, Cadillac, and overseas operations. I mean, you can tell they're well worn, man. They've been with me all my days. They're my best friends. So let me put them out of the way here, and we'll just kind of get some things going for you here. Let's just kind of get a little bit of tone in here like we did the other day. Pardon me reaching across here. Get this thing out of here. We're good. Lay that in. Round it out. And there it is. Lay that in. Round it out. This takes a lot of the bite off of being so harsh and graphic, but it gives you a setting there to work with. So there it is right there. Just going to put this into place here, and I'm going to leave that up for just a second. Let's go back and get this guy to kind of read for us underneath. A little bit of hot spot right along through here. And a little bit of red here. Kind of take the curse off for this guy. And again, what we lost here, we'll just pick up a little bit more pencil. Pardon me again for reaching. And there we go. I'm gonna make that thing sing. Here we go, guys. Yeah, that's right. Well said. Yeah. Is this the pastel set of Christopher Columbus? Yes, it is. That's funny. A little more subdued in here. Get that eraser and kind of get some of this stuff to kind of pull back on us for it. There's a hot spot there. We get a little bit of that back. Get a little bit of that back. Put more of the red back in that flare itself. It's kind of tune that back a little bit more. And let's not use that. And let me get this brush here, guys. We'll get this all cleaned up. Like we did the other day, let's kind of lay a little bit of sky in this thing. And add just a little bit of white with it. And just take that and blend it in. A little more sky. And there you go, guys, coming together. There she is. Kind of pushing it all on little wheels here. Just going to get a little more of this graphics in there. Sorry about that. We lost a little bit of this impact here. And there you are. What do you think, gang? Coming together okay? Let's see. Shadow Sun. Okay, guys, had to step away with this thing. Yellow car and red paper. Yeah, I've done that. I have tried that in the past. I could imagine working on shading would be even more dramatic. Yeah, it will be dramatic, much more dramatic. No question about that, shadow. It will definitely do that. So let me just kind of wrap this thing up by putting a little bit of shadow down here. We'll kind of go at it from there. Let's kind of lay some tone in here. And use this pad to a little bit of ground covering this guy for us here. Settle it down just a bit. And it's kind of clean it up just a bit. Let's see what that does. And there we are. Okay, there's a pretty good little footprint on some things we're working with here today. Let me get my eraser here again. I'm gonna just give her some of this stuff in through here. Clean that up a little bit. Get that little hot spot in there. And a little bit of a pencil where that highlight really begins to break into that wheel well. There it is there. Again, just a little bit more rim change here. Let's get this guy to read just a bit. Get my hands out of the way here. Oh, there you are, gentlemen and folks. There it is. I just kind of finishing some things up for us coming in on Monday. But there's another example of how to go from one level to another here in terms of putting together a sketch that kind of functions for us a little bit here. And then we go back in and I'll do this. We'll kind of get this started back here so we can see if we're coming with this thing. I'll put a little bit of background back in this thing, Chip. Kind of set it up a little bit for us. And we just kind of let a little bit of it fade here, a bit of a backdrop. There's a bit of a start there again. Let's just kind of lay that in there and let it go with that. And hopefully that'll be of some assistance to you. And to go from where we were, for example, with these really loose little sketches we did, for example, on Wednesday, and then coming to Ferrari Evolution Part 2, we just kind of slow something down a little bit and get some interesting things happening with some of the shapes. It's going to get that highlight back into some of the light graphics. I might, between now and next Wednesday, put a little bit more graphics in place and a little bit more detail, get some highlight in these guys and just kind of roll through it a bit. Just got to get this line in here, just kind of strengthen that just a bit. Get this back in place. Right there where the return is coming from. And there she is again, another little variation on theme here. Let me get those up in place here. And that should do it here for today's little stream. I do want to show you one thing, though. I haven't had a chance to really kind of finish yet, but I will probably go back into it sometime in the very near future. And that is just going to sign that guy. I'm going to kind of let that set a little bit there for what it's worth. And I started, I'm going to do a little study here too on this guy. I'm going to do a little pencil sketch on this guy. And I'm going to go a little further with this and get some things ready for the store when it's ready to roll. So I'm going to finish up on this sketch maybe Monday or Wednesday of next week. Monday will be a teaching day. Don't forget, those of you who are interested in going through some lesson plans. Probably Monday, what I'll probably spend a little bit of time on is going back, and we started with 1 point perspective on last Monday. And then we'll go back in. And oh, is that, whoa, that was wild. Oh, neat. Yeah, I'll be starting some lesson plans, for example, on 1:30 to 2:30 on Monday, and we'll go back in. For example, we started a little lesson plan on how to put together proportional 1 point perspective, and showed you how to kind of go through and get the proportions right. But I want to spend some time on Monday using that same process and maybe develop a little product and moving things around so you can see how all the proportions function. And then probably the following week after that, we're going to start with a 2 point discipline. We're going to go right down the line with some really good lessons on how to put all this stuff together. And while we're looking at this sketch, just remember this. This sketch is a product of an old man with a lot of practice. Draw. Every one of these things I've done here is built on one simple principle. All it is a series of cubes lined up in the right proportion and then carving that thing out of that volume. I've said this several times before, and I'll say it again. I do not draw automobiles. I draw structure. I get the structure down and begin to move into that and carve it out of the actual form. If it's rectangular or cube-like, I put them all together and begin to build that out of there and get it all done. So it's really interesting how it all begins to put together. So it all comes down to learning where to place the volume in terms of getting the proportions right. Proportion is everything. So all that to say, thank you so much for joining me here today. As I said, we'll be showing this guy and wrapping it up. That's a little wild sketch here. I thought I'd take a little step further and go to maybe a notchback or a streamlined boat tail coupe, and we'll kind of get into that thing maybe sometime next week. So, but I really want to thank you for taking the time here today and looking at the stream and going through with me on some of the follow through from Wednesday's operation. Let's move that up so you can see a little bit better. There you are. There she is. And then we'll kind of carry on Monday with a lesson plan. And again, to all of you, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a great weekend. And as I said, every time I finish the stream, I just want to really make sure we close this out properly by making the following commentary. Please, if there's something I've done right, tell me. If there's something that I have not done right, tell me. And really appreciate your input. And by the way, if you have any questions or concerns that you want me to illustrate or draw, feel free to contact me at my email address at jim@drcontrast.com. I'm looking forward to a lot more feedback here so that I can be of some assistance to you. What do you want me to work on? What would you like to see done? Maybe put together a playlist of certain things down the line. We put an agenda together and get into some neat stuff that's going to be of some assistance to you. So thanks very much, Chip, Chow. And again, hope you have a great weekend. And everybody joined in, Linear, everybody, please, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. All the very best. And I always close with this. Please go to my website. It's up and running now. It's really kind of cool. Yeah, we have to put that feedback form. That's good. That's a good point, Shadow. Thank you. By the way, my website is up and running now. For example, those who are interested in drawing lessons, please go to drcontrast.com. It'll really be a big help. Again, thanks. Be safe as well, Linear, and looking forward to getting with you on your arena. Give me a call or a note sometime when you've got a minute, and we'll get together and get this thing moving for you. So, all the very best, gang. Have a great weekend, and from me to you, always, never forget to remember, dare to be great. All the best. Thank you.